Hello, everyone. Hello, and welcome to the 10th episode of HSBG Podcast. I'm your host, Educatedcollins, and I'm here with some very special people here. We've got Shady Bonnie coming in, and also special guest SunBaconRelaxer, also known as Victor, 12 wins, the best of the best, one of the best Battlegrounds players we have here in this community.
Oh my god, this picture.
He is here to let us, to let us have some fun. We got a lot of great content for you today. And I just want to start off just talking about you, Victor, and your growth and your transition, right? We used to be, arena specialists back in the day, just doing a lot of arena stuff, co-ops and things like that. But you moved, you also got your name changed, a lot of things. Any things you want to talk about around those topics?
Yeah, it's very, I want to say one thing that is very, very important for me. I don't know what happened. I feel like nothing changed. So, yeah. I don't know what are we talking about. I don't want to talk about myself too much, man.
I mean,
I just really like the game. I used to love Arena, now I love Battleground. It's literally the same feeling. But I guess now I get more exposure from other people. I'm really grateful for the people, who gave me that exposure. And I'm really thankful that I can do what I do every day and, and make a living out of it. That is all there is.
That's very true, actually. Very, very true, right? Just being able to play and like enjoy or share your joy with the community and just your gameplay and your knowledge and things like that, and just being able to do that. It's just nice just seeing all of us just being able to do what we love and have some success there. So, I'm always glad to have you here, and we've got a lot to talk about. A lot of things happened this week, tournaments and patches and whatnot. We always start with Battlegrounds weekly overview. This week has been kind of, I guess, hectic in a way, since Quilboars were pretty much non-stop dominating the meta. For most of this week, it was pretty much your Quilboar, you're trolling. Essentially, if you're not doing Quilboar stuff, you're kind of just like actively losing the game. I did play a lot of non-Quilboar comps this week, even before the changes, and I found that if you had the nuts with a different comp, you could maybe fight for second, essentially, right? If your opponents didn't get the high roll, right, didn't high roll Quilboars, right, then you could maybe win. But if they did, right, and you also high rolled, right, the Quilboar player would end up winning that lobby. But fortunately, there was a patch basically yesterday or the top of the morning for people in EU and things like that, where they adjusted a lot of the Quilboars. We'll be talking about that as well, but I just want to get some thoughts on both of you guys. How do you feel over this week, the patch and the meta? And things like that?
First, Vic.
Me first. The Quilboar meta, even though I like the boars, but it was really repetitive, right?
Right.
You either get the boars on tier 2, the road boar, or the 4-3, the top dusk, or you level to tier 3 and keep looking for it. There's only like 4 or 5 minions you can really start a game with, and there's a couple of them to end the game with. It was quite boring on the starting on the second day, to be honest. I'm really glad they dropped a new patch and fixed that. Now everything feels viable again. Skill feels more relevant since not everyone is forcing a simple strategy, rather. I mean, Boris is not simple to play, but the minion selection part is pretty simple. The APM part is pretty intensive, but yeah, I like the new patch more than the boar patch. How about you guys?
Yeah.
Yeah. You want to go? Or?
Nah, I've been talking too much.
All right, cool. Yeah, my turn. Damn. All right. I guess I feel similar, right? I'm more known for a mid-range tempo player, so I do a lot of tier 4 stuff naturally, and the shaker did not change that at all. It was just a lot of oh, can I find some shields? Can I buy some SunBaconRelaxers? Like that unit was just actually the nuts, right? It's like, oh, I'm rolling on 4 and I have a shaker. Ooh, boom, +4 attack to my entire board. Let's go, right? Every time you get one of those piggies. So that was probably half my games. Half my games was camping on tier 4, getting shakers, buffing divine shields and cleaves, and that was pretty much it. And and the early game was so like I tried to mess around with other things, but it was as simple almost as you open your 5 gold shop. Does it have road boar? No, level. And then if you have a token and you open your 6 gold shop, are you happy with the 6 gold shop? No, level again, right? Just go to 4, try to get the bonker, try to get the harbinger or whatever. So it was a ton of power leveling because a lot of the units you bought that were in boars just felt like you were wasting your gold and you were just better off leveling and hoping that the next shop had some boars. So definitely in agreement with Victor that it's pretty one-dimensional and it feels like there's more decisions now you get rewarded for just being more experienced in the game.
I would I did something similar. I would go to 5, get my 6. Is it Charles? No. Okay, leave. Yeah, no. Is it Captain Flat Test? No. Okay, I'm done. We've lost. Let's move on to the next game, kind of thing. But I'm glad they changed a little bit. It's a little bit more fair, I think. The patch is recent, right? So it will take a while to really see how the meta shakes up, but it does feel like those changes did have an impact, right? I was a little bit scared that they wouldn't have an impact, but after playing the tournament and whatnot, you could definitely see that it wasn't all Quilboars dominating every single game or winning every single one. So hopefully it is a more balanced meta, and then we can have a little bit more discussion on what specifics are good in the meta. So first thing off, we've got a tournament. We've got the Battlegrounds Brawl event that happened recently. I believe it was yesterday, if my memory serves me correct. Spoilers for sure. If you haven't seen the tournament and you want to watch it, definitely go and take a look at that.
Collins, but your volume is really low apparently.
Oh, my volume's really low. Oh, yeah, this should be better. All right, fair enough. That thank you for letting me know. But just keep in mind if you haven't seen the tournament, you haven't seen the results, you haven't seen the gameplay, we will be talking about a lot of those things. So just watch that if you want, and then come back, watch the YouTube VOD or something like that. But yeah, we did have a couple of like little formats. It was a team format where it was 2 people in the same lobby of 8. 2 people were in teams, and the point scoring was first place is 5 points, second place is 4 points, third place is 2 points, fourth place is 1 point, and 5th to 8th gives no points. So that did dramatically change how you wanted to play the game, in that you weren't rewarded for getting 5th or 6th or 7th. None of that mattered. You just were rewarded mainly for 1st and 2nd, and if you get 3rd and 4th, you also get a little bit of points there. So I wanted to talk about some of those things just generally. How did you feel about the point allocation and the team format in the tournament, Victor?
Starting from the point allocation, so only top 4 will get points.
Yeah.
3rd place and 4th place are 2 points and 1 point. First place is 5 points.
Yeah.
Second place is 4 points. So basically, you gain a lot of points if you get top 2. 3rd and 4th, you get a little bit, almost nothing. Bottom 4, absolutely nothing. I feel like this is not a very, very accurate estimate of the player skill as a whole, because a lot of the ladder play, a lot of the experience are from saving MMR. Like when you're low rolling, where you're not hitting the best minions in the shop, when you don't have the best hero, when you're facing the high roller, how do you protect yourself? How do you defense? How do you lose less MMR? That's actually a much harder skill than simply high roll, find a good shot, and just stampede everyone, kill everyone in the lobby. Like, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
It's harder to defend in Battleground, and that is not accounted for this tournament. This tournament basically asks you, do you know how to triple into a tier 6 minion? Do you know which tier 6 minion is good? Do you know if you get Elisa, you gotta get a Scallywag? Do you know you get Nobi, you gotta pick elementals? It's basically kind of that. So in the future, I hope they can host tournament that have longer series, like more games instead of 7. Like 7 games is a small sample size, right? I hope
Yeah,
there are more games, and they should account for every placement, from first to eighth. Um, like 5th place should maybe give a couple points. Like there are tournaments like that, right?
yeah, there have been for sure.
Yeah. Um, what else? What else are we talking about?
Oh, just the team format.
Also the team format. Okay, team format is fine. They have always done a team format in the Brawl event, so I don't really have a problem with that. But the way the team are matched up are kind of scuffed, right? I was against Dog in all 7 lobbies. I was not against Show in a single lobby, and I'm sure Collins also have not faced. I think it was Nicolina in
Yeah,
any of the
Nicolina was
lobbies.
in all of my lobbies, and I didn't
So
fight.
yeah,
Yeah, so that is an interesting point of discussion. I wanted to talk about that separately, but we can get into that right now. Um, there were 7 rounds, right? You think that since there were 7 rounds, you'd get to fight each player like 3 or 4 times, right? That would be a little bit balanced, right? Like I'll fight, you and then another person from your team 3 or 4 times, so you're fighting everyone at least once. But there were some players that I was matched up like extremely frequently. Dog and Victor was in 5 of my 7 matches. Nicolina was in every single match. I didn't fight Nina a single time. I didn't fight Hoppa Bear a single time. So while I do think it would be extremely difficult to balance all the lobbies evenly and fairly, right? Not facing like multiple players even once in the whole tournament. That seems like a big oversight in how they balanced the tournament structure and the brackets in that. So I do think that was pretty weird. I was looking at it just generally, but when I looked through the data, I was like, wow, there are a lot of people that did not fight like this particular player at all, and there was also people that fought the same player every single time, So I think that is something they do want to look at if they do a similar tournament of this structure, making a way where you're fighting everyone at least once or twice, making sure that it's fair. I get to see this particular player a set amount of times and get to see another set of player a set amount of times, instead of like having like 2 people in different groups fighting each other every single time. It seems that can make it very polarizing, especially if you have like a difficult matchup against that player or things like that.
Yeah, I guess one just like devil's advocate argument for the point structure is that it could just make for a more enjoyable viewing experience
Right.
if you just say, all right, none of that trying to salvage with taunt comp crap. Everybody go for the win. Come on, let's go, 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 go. So maybe it's more just spectacle, right? Where they say, we want you guys to do crazy stuff. Want to see the puck champs in the chat. So I'm not saying that's the right way to do it, but that could be a reason for the point structure to be like that, to just try to incentivize people to play aggressively for those wins.
Yeah,
I do think that is the reason. Because the defensive compositions are what? Taunt comp, demon comp. They're all like super boring. No fancy board state. There's no super spike turns. I think to advertise the game, they do want to, present to the new audience that what you can achieve in this game. Like the high rolling is an experience, right? That's why watching some of the poker tournament, you got a super high stake at the top, will attract more people to watch. I do think that is the reasoning.
yeah. And
Um,
I would also say that the point structure wasn't necessarily bad. It just showcased a different skill set than what you normally do in ranked, right?
Yes.
It's more of a, okay, how good are you guys at like capitalizing on good performances, and then also being able to like salvage into like a top 4 position, right? We don't care about being able to get a 5th place. We don't care about tying with people. We just care, can you take a good board state and take it to the victory, or can you take a okay board state and manage like top 3, top 4? So it kind of rewarded that. We knew that going in, right? It wasn't the point structure wasn't like hidden from us before we started, so we were aware that this is how we wanted to play the lobbies out. And you did see a lot of the results, right? Team play was very big, and a lot of those results, first and second, was a lot of times from the same team, which you would think is rare, right? If you just do random chance, how likely is first and second going to be from the same team? Pretty low. But in a lot of those games, first and second happened to be on the same team, or first and third, or second and third, right? They were very likely to be teammates because they were using that team advantage to get edges, maybe leveling at the same time, tying their matches, one person being super strong, playing weak against their teammate, and then going full power against the sucker that fights them right after, and things like that. So there was a lot of interesting ways to use your team play and use the point structure to get that huge advantage and win. So I don't think the structure of the tournament was bad or anything like that. It just is nice also to use ranked experience techniques in tournament play. This particular tournament, we weren't really able to showcase that. We were just able to showcase how to take advantage of good board states or salvage okay board states.
Yeah, it does require some changing gears if you're a very normal ladder player, like your first time in a tournament.
Right.
That's how I feel, right? In the ladder, every placement finish, every tie matters because you get different MMR. But the changing of the point system will have to make me to adjust my playstyle accordingly. I also feel like some of the player who finished really well on the ladder might deserve I mean, this is not, of course, not my place to say this. I'm the first time to get invited, but there are a lot of players who deserve to get invited. So maybe in the future, if Hearthstone can host bigger events that can include 32 players or 64 players over have a seasonal play, that would be very, very cool. Because Hearthstone Battlegrounds do have the large audience for it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it will be a cool thing if they can do that in the future.
Yeah, I would definitely love to see. Oh, so you could go.
I mean, just like, I guess I just have these memories as a kid when I was playing a bunch of card game tournaments, but it would be so exciting if you would just join this 2-day tournament with over 100, like a couple hundred players a lot of the time, and you just start, and then there's this day 1, and then you need to hit top 64 for day 2, and those were really, really exciting events when I played
what we're
them.
talking about? We're talking about Masters Tour.
Yeah. I mean, that's the structure that would be great if you could emulate that for BGs. But I think that would have a lot of appeal, even if you wouldn't put an insane amount of incentive at the end of it, right? I think a lot of people just like to play, and as long as the reward is decent, those tournaments would fill up.
Yeah.
Because right now with Master Stores, well, we're not going to make GM for BG, so who knows? Right? Wink, wink. Right? But
I feel like in the North America, they could just give the game more exposure, because in China there is a thing for BG like this. There's 2,000 people travel to Shanghai to play in this BG tournament, and only 100 people will get a prize, but everyone will travel and they will try their hands on this game. Yeah, everyone have a chance. There's no hard requirement. You play the qualifier online, you qualify. There's 2,000 people qualified. Everyone goes to Shanghai. Bring your own equipment and you play. And the top prize is only 100K or something. But it's a great tournament. A lot of exposure for a lot of different players, and make the game more popular too.
Absolutely,
it's a win-win situation.
Just going there with your friends, right, and being like, "Oh, how are you doing?" Like, oh, "I'm 3-0," like, "I'm 1-2," stuff like that. Just between the rounds, just being like, that's
it
the
is
real
really,
fun.
really hard to progress in that tournament. A lot of the best players in China couldn't make it to the second round.
Yeah, I mean, everyone is trying their best, right? They're all trying.
BG is a very volatile game. RNG happens.
Yeah, for sure. So But even then, right, you'll still see some people doing very consistently. And the more tournaments of that structure you have, right, you'll have the same people doing well over and over, right? And you'll still be able to see, even if one tournament it's not consistent for that person, right? Over time, right, you'll see them edging out a lead over their competition. So it's still there is still some consistency there to be made. So I would love to see some formats of that, just having more players and more tournaments of that, right? Every time we have tournaments of this nature, right, at the end, right, people are always like, oh, I'd love to see more. I'd love to see more, right? There's definitely an appetite for it. So that is very true. Just having tournaments and enjoying just the tournament feeling and the tournament structure and just, playing with friends and whatnot. So I would love to see that kind of thing. But overall, we did talk about the tournament, but we haven't talked about the results overall. If we take a look at the results, right, Burbacks happened to edge it out the lead. That would happen to be my team. Show being the top point earner, Celissa, Sunglitters, and myself, right, we all did well. But Bacon, Victor over here also edging out that second place performance too. So with his team, so there was a lot of good results for the people, in this tournament. But I want to talk to you about just how you felt with the tournament structure and playing, and how you like the results. And there were some like for me, the start of the tournament was pretty good, right? We had a good performance. We were able to keep that lead throughout. But I remember feeling a little bit scared in the middle stages of the tournament where I had a bad placement. I was like feeling bad, right? There were some tournaments where the last match is like worth double points and things like that. So you're always like, oh, you never feel safe because, oh no, all my results could get switched out at the very end with the like last place double match. But there wasn't any of that. It was more of a consistent grind. If you did well early, it meant the same as doing well in the late. There was no like ramp up. So how did you feel about just like having it consistent, having the same, or having your home teammate and using and relying on them and your teammates to win the tournament?
So to begin with, the first couple rounds, I was feeling pretty pressured. I'm just gonna talk about myself
Yeah,
because
go for
I
it.
don't
Yeah,
exactly
yeah, yeah.
know how my teammate feel. So the first couple rounds, I feel pretty pressured. I was trying to play safe. My hero also wasn't that good. I got vaulted in the first two games, and I was trying to do the slow leveling. I was trying to lose less HP in the early game. So I got fourth two times, and then a third afterwards. That's only 4 points.
Right.
That's only how much you get for 1 second place for a third, and fourth, right?
Yeah.
And I realized that wasn't working, right? And I was trying to adjust into more aggressive play style. And I got better heroes at the end. I got Maif twice. I got the first and second with those. Also, I think teammate dynamic matters. RDU is a very great communicator. I mean, Hubba Bear and Sissy are very good too. But like I feel RDU and me have some dynamic. So he just straight up always asks me, okay, Victor, what hero do I pick? And how do I play this one here? He's just very straightforward with his questions. And then I always like answer him the way I think. And then we just do all together. And there were two lobbies I was with him. And one is first and second, one is first and third. He had to kill me. There's no choice because we face each other. We're actually both stronger than second place guy. Yeah, so at the beginning, I was feeling pressured, and also the team wasn't doing good. We were behind in points. Towards the end, we know we're probably not going to get first place. So the pressure on our shoulder actually lifted a little bit. Because we know we're not going to get first, there's not too much to worry about. So I was able to fully play risky. I was like, okay, there's nothing to lose. At worst, we all get fourth place, which we're pretty close to anyway. And then with that mindset, we actually do better. I think for the whole team. Um, yeah, so I think pressure is a big thing, at least for me. When I feel pressured, I tend to play safe. and playing safe with this tournament structure is terrible. So for me, in the next tournament, I will try to like go all out from the very beginning because in tournament like this, you can't really catch up at the end, right?
Yeah.
So having a correct mindset and correct strategy going into it is super important.
Uh,
Yeah, I kind of adjusted midway, which was not enough.
yeah, I definitely agree with
We had
that.
similar experiences.
Go for it.
No, you go. It's fine.
Okay, I had a previous tournament where I had the similar feeling where at the beginning I did okay, but then I started to lose, and then as soon as I started, like I had one bad game, like my mental was destroyed. I started overthinking all my plays and started like trying to outplay strategies that my opponent wasn't implementing on me at all, and I was just like, okay, I need to relax and just refocus, just focus one game at a time, and just try to get the best points that I could, and that really helped me at the end, especially even in this tournament. The mid game of my play wasn't, I would say, the best, but I was able to recover, and then the last two games kind of edged us out in points scoring. So it differs by tournament, right? Different structures prefer different mentalities, right? Like if you were playing safe, right? Third, fourth is really good normally, right? Or fourth, whatever. It's really good normally, but in a tournament like this where first and second are really the big pointers, right? You have to go aggressive and you have to be like, okay, I can't play safe, right? I can't do the play that I would do in ranked because it's a lot safer, and even if I don't win the lobby, I get through it, I gain points, right? Even I didn't get a good hero or whatever, right? So this is the logical play for ranked, right? Here it's like, no. I have to go the strongest, stupidest thing I could make because that's the only thing that will win. So having that mentality, right? Being okay with that, and like ignoring the voice in your head that says play safe, do the normal lie, and just go like, I will go crazy, I will just level to 5 or 6 even though it's like super early, and just try to find the nuts board, right? Is the correct line, because it's the line that gives you the highest chance of winning, right? Sometimes it's also the highest chance of being 8th, but that doesn't matter, right? Because you have to be first or second. So I do agree with that kind of a mentality and just growth. And the more tournaments that you participate in, right, the better it is, the calmer it is. I was feeling particularly calm during this tournament, where some other tournaments I would be a little bit nervous, sweating, and that kind of thing, right? But I've played a lot of tournaments overall so far, right? So you get used to it, you get used to the pressure and things like that, and you're able to continue even though you may have like a rough start and things like that. So there are a lot of little things, a lot of little advantages just from playing multiple tournaments and being invited to these kind of things that doesn't really translate obviously, but has results in the end. So there are a lot to take from it. Anyway, so
Yeah, that's big. That's a big part of it. Like when I was playing like a tournament myself, one thing that clicked for me is the way how you play on ladder to salvage points. Not only is it not really rewarded when you're in such a point structure, you're also just up against really, really good people. So just buying a Harbinger a lot of the time is not gonna cut it, right? It's like these people are gonna, like, when they get a high roll, my God, are they gonna be strong. So a lot of the time that mitigation strategy that you employ on ladder that gets you top 4 is not even gonna get you top 4 in that kind of an environment. So on top of you reduced efficiency of those more tempo strategies, because all your opponents are very good, and if they get their hands on a good start, putting up a defense like that is not going to be as efficient as it would normally be.
yeah, I just wanted to just mention, just taking a look over the rounds and who was playing each other. We did mention that some people were playing each other multiple times and some people didn't fight each other at all. Just wanted to have a picture on board, just if you want to take a look at how the rounds go and things like that. But I do think the way they had it structured was you'd play 2 rounds with the same group and then you'd swap. So there was realistically only 4 swaps, I would say, over the course of the tournament that they could move people around. So I do think it would have been hard to get everything perfectly balanced, where everyone was playing every other teammate of every group a similar amount of times. But I do think with that limitation, it would be very difficult. And also, the time structure and things. Just like it would be hard to have people moving or creating new groups every single round, every single group. So there was like a production reason why it was difficult for everyone to fight everyone equally. But I do think that it still would be something to look at when you're designing another tournament of this nature, making sure that people are fighting each other, at least once or twice, or if you could have maybe a longer tournament or something like that. I know that also ties into production and how much time they have allotted to make these tournaments run smoothly. But I do think it was a hidden point, but an important point to talk about, where some people wouldn't see other players at all, right? They'd go the whole tournament. You wouldn't even know this player was in the tournament because you never fight them. So it is just something I think they should look at when they are designing these tournaments, just making sure that there's more fairness in who fights who and things like that. So I just want to bring that up at the end as well. Anyways, next thing we're talking about is the new patch. We've got a new update. This one was pretty recent. The tournament was played on this patch, so the people that played the tournament have probably more games of this patch than maybe some other people, just because we played on this tournament before it rolled out, and then everyone else got to play it. So there's only been 1 or 2 days over, one day basically, where we've really seen the changes or the updates and the balance from this patch. But overall, just from playing in the tournament, playing afterwards, I do think it's been a pretty good patch, pretty fair, pretty balanced. A lot of the changes, I initially thought it wouldn't be enough nerfs, to be fair. Like, I thought, oh, you're just nerfing the stats a little bit, but they've actually been pretty relevant, right? 1-4 stat line is pretty weak. A lot of things just free kill it, so you have to be a little bit careful when you're going for that scaling Quilboar start. If you don't have a good start, then you get punished a lot heavier than you were before.
Yeah, a lot of the nerfs to the boars, I think some of them don't really make sense, and some of them were good, right? So I think Roadboar, and you guys feel free to chip in on this, but Roadboar just feels like a card that I don't really want in the game. Not because it's inherently like broken or anything like that, but it just feels weird to see that card on 5 gold, and then to be like, oh, this card is now just gonna scale for free. So I think Frenzy is still like a little bit of a weird design, but the next thing that's gonna scale like that is gonna be something like a Sensei, and that's on tier 3, and you need to have a mech, right? Yeah,
Hank.
sure, yeah. Massive Hank stonks. Forgot about
You
that.
had
How
Hanks,
could
didn't
I?
you, earlier
We're
today?
talking about a good curse here, Colin.
What are you talking
Good
about?
cards.
Hey, come on. Hanks was the best.
So, I mean, they nerfed it, but it still feels just like the card doesn't really belong in the game. I don't know. The Bannerborn nerf, like that one was big. Like you mentioned as well. I guess you said 1-4, that could be Roadboar as well, but it's now also a 1-4 instead of a 2-5. Used to be a snap pick, right? You just see it, take it every time. Right now, there feels like there is a realistic downside to it. Where, oh, if I take this and I don't get a boar, if I don't, well, pretty much just like a brute straight away. Like this feels a bit weird. So I like that a lot more, that you don't just pick them because they're strong, and they're going to be really strong once you find synergy for it. So a lot of the nerfs I think were done right, but I think Roadboar is a little weird, and then Shaker nerf is just, I don't know, that card is still a little bit silly.
It's not a
I think
nerf, yeah.
yeah, right. Like what I do now a lot of the time is I'll play Shaker, I'll play a bunch of gems, and then I'll sell it. It's like an all-in in the end game. I'll be like, all right, whatever, off you go, because there's not even a reason to keep him around. So it feels like you shouldn't be able to generate that much attack just off one card. And I think it's going to be a lot less of a problem now, just because boars in general are weaker and you don't usually have a bunch of gem generation lying around. But still, Golden Shaker with, say, a Flat Tusk is still just stupid amount of power you get, right? Your board can be just Bronze Warden, Bolvar, and Hydra, 0 buffs, but you just play like 4 or 5 gems on that shaker. It's like, and suddenly you have a 20 damage clear or something like that. You want to give us your take on some nerfs, cards fixers?
I take on the nerf. So basically, before the nerf, people see board, they take board, they never get punished because the boards are overstated. The 2 drops as a 2/4 that gains +1/+1 in the early game, because no one can really stop road board from generating gems if you get it on turn 3, right? You always get gems. So basically, it's a 2/4 that get +1/+1 per turn. And no early game minion have like tier 2 minion. None of them have skilling like that, except Wrath Weaver. Wrath Weaver costs you HP, but road board is free. And the gems are not just +1/+1. You know, if you give it tough task, you guaranteed to win that turn. If you have a road board and tough task, you guaranteed to win that turn. But now you're taking a risk, right? Unless you're a high rolling board, unless you're getting exactly road board tough task, you can't really take the road board and still tie the fight. If you're taking a 1/4, you're not tying the fight. You are making a health investment into this direction, which makes sense. If you pick Wrath Weaver, you make health investment. It's calculated risk. At least now there's a decision. Does board synergize with my hero? Like for example, if I'm Vol'jin, then board is extremely good. But if my hero values preserving HP, maybe this is not something I want to do. At least now there's like decision making in the early game. The bunker nerf, I think, make the most sense. The bunker was the most broken generators in the mid game, in my opinion.
Yeah,
People
I
were
agree.
rush leveling, and especially like hero like Reno, you get your hands on the bunker by rush leveling, you cannot lose the game at all. At least the top 2, if there's one person can constantly dodge you. If the matchup is like even, and Reno get a bunker and hero powered it, that Reno wins the game. Period. It's so dumb. Like now the bunker only deals 3 damage. It doesn't kill a lot of the early game minion. 3 damage, 4 damage, huge difference. 4 damage, if you triple into a tier 4, you get it. That bunker is gonna carry you through that turn, give you a bunch of blood gems without you losing HP. Now you triple into the bunker, you can lose HP. Like if you get bunker at turn 5, you can lose HP. You probably still get 2 gems if you get it early. But after I level to tier 4, the bunker doesn't seem very attractive to me anymore for most heroes. Because I know if I take it, I probably just lose the fight. So now I feel like every board when you're taking them, you're sacrificing your HP, which makes sense, right? Because you're generating value. You're supposed to lose HP. Charla buff, I think is probably Charla nerf's probably the one that make the most sense. Like giving +1/+1 and the blodging effect on everything for one card is purely broken. They have no downside, only upside, and it has the highest skilling potential in the game. And that's just stupid. Doesn't make sense at all. But now when you pick Charla, it's still pretty good, right? It usually the turn you triple into it, you could have 6 minutes, you could have 5 minutes if you get it early. You get around +4 or +5/+5. If you do not have blodging synergy, you might lose that turn. Because I triple this with Maeve sometimes. I do feel like my life is on the line when I choose Charla when I have no boards. There is a decision to make now. And I think that's true, like I'm repeating myself, I guess, for all the board cards. You have a decision to make because if you just brain dead pick those cards now, and you have no synergy, you will die unless you have Ground Shaker. Ground Shaker is still broken, and you can build a comp around it that has Divine Shield and Cleave, and just to push all in from turn 7 to turn 11, you will get a top 4 placement. As long as you have generators, or if you get lucky, you roll into a lot of SunBaconRelaxer or the 3-1 guy, and you have some Divine Shield on the board. If you just always put a bludgeon on it, you will get top 4 still most of the time, like 80% of the time. It's still broken. I think that card should be. I mean, I think it's not nerfed enough. Like he himself doesn't get a tag, does not matter that much because he's always the guy who's standing at the back with a big butt that clean up tokens. You never put him in the front. You put a Divine Shield and Cleave in the front. His attack doesn't really matter. So I feel like Earthshaker didn't really get it. Groundshaker didn't really get a nerf that he deserved.
That's very fair.
Anything else? The tier 4 board didn't get touched. I think it was perfect because it encouraged people to level to tier 5 more to go for more Menagerie plays. Menagerie was just completely dead, right? When board was super strong. And now it is back because the boards are weaker, but you can still pick up some Logim Generator to synergize with not what's that card called? I call it Pig Fang. The 3 pigs.
Agam, I think, right? Agam,
Yeah, that card feels better now since other boards are nerfed. Yeah, you can drop more bludgeons on that thing.
Very true. So overall, it seems like we like the changes. It makes the balance a little bit better. A lot of the changes were fair. However, there are still some problematic cards. Ground Shaker still seems like could be more of a problem. Road Boar, some people still don't like how you get that free skilling every single turn as long as you get it early enough and whatnot. So there are still some question marks, but overall it is a healthier meta. Overall, you are able to play more archetypes than you were before. It's not just play Quilboar, play Quilboar. Right, you have to actually think about, oh, do I really want to go this direction? So I think that's a good start, right? They're not going to get everything, all the changes like perfectly balanced. And have they ever really gotten all the changes perfectly balanced? I think that would be difficult to agree with. So it is a good start, and we do like that they had a patch relatively quickly, right? Sometimes it takes a while for them to understand all these things is not balanced, but I think for Quilboars, it was pretty obvious to see that it was the only thing winning lobby. So glad they had a change relatively quickly, and hopefully we'll see more updates, more changes, make it a little bit more balanced, get rid of or just problematic cards so that they feel fair. But that's our take on the patch so far, and we'll have to see. It did come out relatively recent, so maybe our thoughts are just a little bit raw, a little bit fresh, but maybe next week we'll have a little bit more focused direction on what is the problems of this particular meta game. So we'll see. Next topic, we shall be talking about a card of the day. It will be Qiraji Harbinger. I wanted to talk about this card because I saw it a lot in the tournament. Just like it's always a card that I think is funny in that it's surprising how good it is sometimes. Like every time I look at a Harbinger board, I remember Victor, you killed me. Actually, one of those games, I was like, oh my! I looked at the starting word band. I was like, oh, I've won this. This is so free. And then the Harbinger value just like buffing up your Imama, I believe, and I was just like, wait a minute. wait a minute.
I think that final was his favorite. 50% I win, 25% to tie, and then 25% you win.
Oh man, and I was just like, what, I lost? I was like, oh well, and that happened a lot. And I think ever since this card came out, I think at the very beginning people didn't really like know, but very quickly people start to understand, wow, you play this with Acolyte, that's +8/+8 on 2 minions. You can synergize that with Divine Shield, synergize that with Cleave, synergize with minions that give taunts, right? Things like Imama, things like the 2/6 mech as well, right? There's a lot of synergies with this card that can really allow you to top 4 easily. I think this is one of the best cards. If you don't know what to do and you're trying to top 4, you pick this up, you pick 2 copies, you make a golden one, whatever. You play a board that revolves around this card. You can definitely go from not having any strategy, any direction to getting a good enough comp to top 4.
Want to give your thoughts first, Vic?
Yeah, this card. Just recently, I began to realize how even more powerful it is. Because a lot of the time in the early game, you have some shitter towns, you have no direction, and you're like, okay, everyone is leveling from tier 3 to tier 4. I guess I can't stay on tier 3 anyway. I guess I'll go to tier 4. And then the first card you see is this. And sometimes maybe you don't even have taunt. And you're like, okay, what do I do now? I get this Dragon Spawn Lieutenant on turn 1. I got the Imprisoner on turn 2. And then on turn 3, I might buff a Bronze Warden with this 4/4 Dragon. And I get this Harbinger. Okay, this is what you do. You just buy the Harbinger, you level all the way up. Because, like, Harbinger is not really a build by itself. Like, you can't build a Harbinger comp by itself unless you have, like, 2 of them or you run a Soul Traveler. Well, how I use this card is usually if I have shitter taunt at the beginning, I have no direction. I see Harbinger on 4. I take this, and then the turn afterwards, I'm going to 5. I'm either going Menagerie or I push to 6. I find a direction if I'm healthy, right? Usually I just take this card. I win the middle game fight. It helped me to power level, especially for heroes that are stronger, like Omu, Maiev. You like Maiev, you have 3 gold left, usually on turn 4 with your early economic tokens.
Right.
And then you see this card. This card is the best card in the game for you. You can literally push to tier 6 with this card, usually without getting punished. If you have 2 taunts. If you have Acolyte of Cthulhu, you have 2 Acolyte of Cthulhu, I can guarantee you push to tier 6. No one can do any harm to you. And then
Victor
you start the
is
game
speaking
from
my
there.
language right here. I like what you said.
And you can literally just pick Acolyte of Cthulhu on tier 4 and tier 5 to help you to push to tier 6 if you need to. Because sometimes it's really hard to find a direction on 4 and 5. And this card saves you for that.
I know Shady for sure has a different approach.
I respect this one for sure. I think you do have 2 very specific or very different ways to play the card, right? So one is the rich get richer, right? Oh, I'm an Omu. Oh, I leveled. Oh, there's 3 gold left. Oh, I have an Acolyte. Oh, nice little Harbinger. Straight to 6, right? That's what I call the rich get richer. You're just a good hero. You're power leveling. This guy comes along on the way. 3 tier 6, right? It's so good. But this is also the poor man's champion. If you have nothing go, like the amount of times I've top 2'd or even scammed a win where I have nothing on my board, but I have a Battle Master in between like Acolyte of Cthulhu, Void Lord, Golden Harbinger. It's just straight up Harbinger comp, right? It's just as many taunt, reborn, scam things you can fit in there as possible. And then the queen of Harbinger comp is Imp Mama. Because Imp Mama, if she survives the hit, she spawns a taunt. The taunt dies. The taunt buffs the Mama. The Mama gets more stats. They miss into the Mama. She spawns another taunt. They hit the taunt again. The Mama gets buffed. So, yeah, there's so many
That is
really...
the Rover. The
Yeah, like Rover, right? The same
Rover
thing.
is so
Ooh.
sick.
You
You
could
put
do
a module
so...
on that thing, it spawns forever.
Yeah, you could do some really silly stuff. So it can be a comp on its own, but you do prefer to just have it be support, right? But if you are desperate and
Yeah.
you don't know what to do and you happen to get 2 of these and you just said, okay, I'm on tier 4. What am I doing? I have 2 of these. I've got 2 Acolytes of Cthulhu. I'm sure a lot of people are in the spot and they don't know what to do. You look for great things to soak. So one thing that is, I guess I'm more like a specialist of the second version, the poor man's Harbinger comp. I play a ton of tier 4, right? I opened the shop with 2 champions and a Harbinger, and I just like, these are my people, man. Let's go, let's buy them, let's go, let's play the game. Deflecto is incredible as well with this thing. If you can get, let's say, an egg with a module on it, and then Deflecto, and the rest is just Harbinger and shitty taunts. The Deflecto is far left, and one of the issues you face with Harbinger is the buff on the far left goes to waste, right? Because the left minion is a taunt, it attacks, it dies. There's nothing to the left of it. So if you put a Divine Shield on the left, we call that a soaker, it will soak up all the buffs. And any Divine Shield is okay because it will attack and it will survive. But the Flecto is amazing because if you have a reset in the middle, not only will it soak all the buffs, it'll regain Divine Shield. And suddenly you have a 30-30 Divine Shield Deflecto at the end. Be like, all right, round 2, let's go, bonk, right? So there's a ton of really cool stuff you can do with this. Great to support you when you're power leveling, but if you get 2 of these in the mid game, you can do so much. You're essentially just thinking, okay, which units would benefit a lot from buffing? So Divine Shield, Battle Master, because Battle Master, his biggest problem is doesn't have any attack, but has a lot of health. And then, yeah, if you can, like the really specialist minion is in Mama. If you can, somehow this happens like, oh, triple, I guess I'll shoot for a 6. Ooh, in Mama, great. Right? And then suddenly you have direction and you can cheese top 2 and sometimes even top 1 with those comps for sure.
Yeah. Oh, I do want to like point out how deceptively strong this comp can be, where you look at it and you're like, this isn't that good, but then you have an Imama, you have Deflector or whatever, any Divine Shield, and your minions start out like a 3-2 or a 6-10, right? By the end of the battle, you're having like a 30-30 minions, just like free killing things, chunking things, getting more taunts, and creating that cycle again. It is a viable comp, especially if you're not playing anything traditional, nothing with like innate scaling, right? Just putting some harbingers down, some resets, some reborn taunts and things like that can really just be enough to get that top 4. It is a very strong comp when you get the pieces down correctly. So I wanted to talk about it since we hadn't, and I saw a lot of it over the tournament. Just people were running it when they didn't know what to do.
That's me. I didn't know what to do. I was actually surprised myself. How the hell did I get a top 2 with this thing? So basically I think Shady was right. This card is not only used for power leveling. Of course you get the inferior heroes who have lower HP. Also sometimes you have lower HP. You can't aggressively level. This is a card you can settle on. I really truly like the comp that this card builds because usually you have no potential for top 1. But yeah, it's a good MMR safer comp. I don't think you can give this card too much credit, say he's the best card in the game. No, he's not. But it's the bread and butter of the high MMR player. It's like the arm, right? This card, an arm, and Deflectobot Sensei combo. It is what net the most MMR, even though it's not a first place card. They give you the most money. It doesn't give you all the money all at once, but it slowly give you money, give you MMR in this case.
I think the bread and butter statement is great. Yeah, just bread and butter for high MMR. Just, I guess, just really scrappy, brawly play where it's just like, all right, fight, yeah, tooth and nail, try to live, right? Not the, oh, I'm just gonna like build my Light Fang board and just wait a little bit and scale, right?
You can't always triple into tier 6 minion, but you can always go to tier 4. And this card will always be there no matter what is spent. You can always pick it up on tier 4.
You can always go to tier 6.
Yeah. No, you don't. I can't level to tier 6 every game.
I do. I find a way,
No, I don't like Collins. You're a safe player. We know you stay on tier 4. Especially when you're low HP.
I don't know about that one. We'll see.
We know you always say you hate people killing you the most. And how do you prevent them?
By having a gigantic tier 6 board. That's how I prevent killing. Hey, next topic we'll be talking about is Forest Warden Omu. This hero has really done well with this meta. I think this hero's always been good, to be fair, right? Like anytime and this hero always seems to do well in tournaments as well, just because hyper leveling, this hero excels at it, right? So in tournaments where you're trying to get the best board, you're trying to get the strongest minions, right? This is one of the heroes that can really allow you to do that. But in particular, is doing exceptionally well in this patch. That was mostly due to probably the Quilboars being really strong on 6 and being able to get 2/6 really well here. I wonder if its stats will fall down a little bit with the adjustments to make it a little bit more fair to stay on lower levels, but I do still think this is a very good hero, very strong. Just the ability to level whenever you want. Basically, once you pass the early game, anytime you want to level, you're like, okay, I can do it. I'm not losing that much investment. And then using that advantage to get early triples, using that advantage to be a level ahead of your opponents, right? That happens a lot when you're playing Omu. And just having an early start, right? If you're the first person to get a 6 drop, right, you have the highest chance of getting that the 6 that you want, right? Whereas once people start getting a ton of 6s, a ton of triples, right, they start removing those minions from the pool. It's a lot harder to get exactly what you're looking for. So there's quite a bit of advantages to Omu that allows it to be consistent, allows it to be strong, and a pretty powerful hero.
I'll give your take, Vic.
The hero that the best curve is to level to tier 4 on 7 coins. If you have one token in the early game, you can always level to tier 4 on 7 coins. And that's where this hero is at its most powerful state. And this hero is really good with pairs because you can always take the pairs to tier 6. And I mean tier 6 triples, right? You
Right.
triple on tier 5.
Right.
Sometimes you can stay one extra turn on tier 1. And you look for that triple if you can't hit a token. There's so many viable curve. You basically can play any curve on this hero. It's never wrong, but is the strongest one is to like get the tier 4 on 7 coin. Because you get strong so fast, you take around 15 damage and then you basically never lose another fight if you're lucky enough to hit the right tier minion on the right tier terrorist. If you go to 4, to find tier 4 minions, you're probably not gonna lose another fight. And you can just keep on leveling. What else was this hero? This hero is just insane. Especially in a board meta, you get a board first. Other people cannot get it before you. You level first, you get a board first. Also, you have a bunch of other minions. But now the boards are nerfed. Of course, it's gonna be a little worse. But is he worse than Maeve? Probably not. If there's when we're talking about really strong heroes, we're talking about Maeve and Omu, right? So who decide who's the strongest? I think it depends on token. If there is token, Omu is the strongest. If there's no token, Maeve is the strongest because Maeve doesn't rely on it. Also, it depends on how strong the tier 6 strategy is. Usually, almost biggest advantage is to level to tier 6 without dying. So if elementals in the game, dragons in the game, you should consider building a board that can set up for those strategies once you hit tier 6. When you hit those key cards like Genie, Little Red, Caligos, also now there's Boar tier 6, you can utilize them. You want to set up a little bit when you selecting your purchase in the mid game from tier 5, tier 4, and tier 5, right? So when you hit that tier 6, you want to pick the right minion for it. I think setting up is pretty important because a lot of people they just buy random shit in the middle game. I think that's how they lose. They're just like, oh, I like this card, I buy this card, but they're not thinking about what is my win condition. So when I get a hero like Maeve Omo, I don't even look at anything else. I directly just after look at a ban, I look at what is the tier 5, tier 6 minion. I'm gonna go for this game. And every decision I make in the early and middle game is gonna be related to what I'm desiring on tier 5 and tier 6. I think that kind of planning is the most key success with Omo and Maeve. You just can't think about too much of little things. It's gonna mess it up. Like when you see that deflector bot with a Madness, a lot of people will like slow down one turn to take those. But at the end, their board is really really awkward because they spend too much economy on those mid-range card when they're actually pushing to tier 5, tier 6, they're one turn too late. Other people already built up. When you do tier 5, tier 6, you're going to take a lot of damage. So it's better to level aggressively and avoid some of the traps with Omu and Maeve. This power aggressively levelers.
So the two curves that I use frequently, right, are the double token, the one you described, the one where you just pop off. So for anyone who's not that familiar with Omu, or it's not just automatic, when you get double token on Omu, you can level on 4 gold and still buy the second token, and then on 5 gold you can sell one of the tokens and double buy, and then afterwards that extra token is going to keep you relevant, where you can keep power leveling and just sell the token to keep buying. Now, when you don't get that one, the slow-mo curve, or however you want to call it, where you buy 2 minions on tier 1, I think is a really great alternative and probably a good MMR saver when you're not too familiar with Omu, because I didn't do that for the longest time, and I think it's such a big deal because, like Victor mentions, Omu is really good at carrying tier 1 pairs to 5 because you can level so easily, and then you can just triple into a 6-drop and it's still really good. So I think those are the two main ways to play Omu. Now, I think a big part of Omu as well, like Victor mentions, is getting good shops. So do you have any sort of a game plan where, let's say you level, you get on 4 early, but Bob forgot to put tier 4 minions in the shop, right? As he sometimes tends to do. Do you have any plan where you say, okay, I'm just gonna stay on tier 4 and just play taunt comp Omu, or do you just say, I'm gonna believe, I'm gonna push 5, and we'll just make it happen?
When you say Bob don't give you anything, you can't go taunt comp if Bob don't give you anything.
I mean, start rolling on tier 4 instead of pushing the button to go to 5, right? Because I'm talking about that turn where you normally want to go from 4 to 5 and buy the Harbinger, right? And you're just like, oh, it's so good, I'm so strong, right? But let's say that shop is bad. Do you push 5 and either like roll and maybe sell a bad minion and buy something, or do you just like buy a
So
mediocre
there
minion?
are two options with Omo. You fill your board on tier 4 or you fill your board on tier 5. You need to have one turn to fill your board before you go 6. And if you miss on 4, you can take 1 turn damage, go 5. And if you're still miss on 5, I think you're just pretty much dead. Not every hero can guarantee top 4. And there's a very good Chinese player, he's always top 1. He said, if you're afraid of dying, don't play the game. You accepted the risk of dying with Omu if you power level when you pick the hero. There's always going to be like that 10% or 20% when you don't hit any tier 4 minions on 4, don't hit any tier 5 minion on 5, and then you just have to accept dying. But like if you get Harbinger on 4, take the Harbinger and try to find, you have 2 rows to look for a solid taunt. If you get a Mama Bear on 5, you can spend a turn on 5 to fill with Beast. Like you do have to hit a core card. At the bottom, you can play Deflectobot plus Divine Shield. But that composition you stay on 4. It is okay to stay on 4 if you have Deflectobot, but that's the very bottom. Like you can just play Divine Shield Mag. It's okay. I've done it a few times just for top 4. But you gotta realize that you have to roll a couple times on 4 first, and you have nothing but only Deflectobot offered to you. Then you go max. You shouldn't prioritize Deflectobot, and Divine Shield comes.
So for the most part, you're still happy to save MMR by, on average, just getting very high placements with Omo and just tank the bad game occasionally, where you say, all right, well, we leveled. And
yeah, basically the minion choice is Dragon first, Pair first, and then Menagerie second, and then after that, Taunt come power to 6, look for direction, and then after that, Max.
yeah, that's a big deal, because when Victor was talking earlier about, oh, I want to be deliberate about my composition, right? Some practical examples could be, oh, now if I triple into a Kali, I have dragons, I can do something. Oh, if I open a Light Fang. I have 3 things that I actually want to buff. It's not just the board full of mechs or full of boars or whatnot. So yeah, that definitely reduces, because sometimes you just open a Light Fang and can't really use it properly, right? And then
I
that's
see
just
that
the
a
result of
lot.
it.
This is the thing. When you
That's the
look at the
result.
tribal minions, you gotta have priorities. You gotta know what's the first and what's the second, and what is not acceptable. When you hit the things that are not acceptable, like elementals, like we're talking about the 4/4 elementals on tier 3. When stuff like that show up, just if you cannot take it, don't take it in level if the curve allows. Basically. I'm sorry,
Oh,
Collins.
good stuff there for
No, it's
sure,
all
for sure.
good. I love it when I don't have to talk.
Yeah,
But
no, Collins, if Collins could, he would just be streaming and it would just be us talking. And he's like, all right, that's a wrap. Good show, guys. We'll see you next week.
that would be great. But I do want to mention I see this happen a lot where people go for sixes and it's like they don't expect to get the six, right? I see people are like saying, "Oh, I'm gonna get a Caligos," and then they get the Caligos and you're like, "Wait, I have no dragons on the board. This doesn't
And then they
set
start
up."
buying jugs. That's the worst. You level to 6 all the way, and then you're settling for jug. That's exactly how people top 8. They're not taking the risk.
Uh,
They're keeping their habit. They buy whatever they like. You level to upper tier, you can't buy everything. You just don't have the economy, right?
yeah,
Collins? You gotta be
yeah.
very selective of your shell.
Yeah, it's when you get the six triple for Caligos, and you already have like 4 or 5 dragons already, and you're like, easy. My comp is already here. I just buy the battle cries. I'm good, right? That's how people win with the Caligos. That's how you see those people with double Caligos and Adina, right? They're strong enough to level because they don't have to spend like 15 gold buying 5 dragons to fill their Caligos board, right? They already have that set up when they're going, right? So they're able to just like they see their game plan in their head, right? They're like, okay, I'm gonna go dragons this game, right? They started with 2 dragon pairs or something right there. They're like, okay, I'm gonna go dragons this game, blah, go hit the dragon, get the Caligos, go from there. They already have a full board of dragons. They don't have to spend an extra turn or two buying dragons and resetting the board, right? They already have everything right there. Where you see some people, they're like, okay, I'm gonna go get Chalga or something, right? And then there's no blood gem synergy, there's no divine, there's no cleaves, there's nothing. They're just getting 1/1s. They're scared of dying because they can die because there's no synergy with their board, right? They're like, I'm gonna get Charles this game, but I'm not gonna fill my board with units that actually benefit from it. So that's definitely something I see when people are hyper leveling. This hero hyper levels a lot, where people are going for their late game comp, but they don't set up the board to accept that late game comp fluidly, right? They don't have any setup. They just have they have the Caligos and they die. They have the Charles and they die. They have the Goldrin with no beasts and they die. It happens quite often when I see people looking for tier 6 compositions. So
Yeah, oftentimes the setup is more important than the key card you get. Like you really want to get dragons, and then you have a full board of beast. See the Goldrin, just take it. A lot of low MMR players, their mistake is Caligos is the best card. I have 1 dragon but 3 beasts, but I'm gonna take Caligos because it's the best card. Like you have 3 beasts, just take Goldrin because your previous investment really amplified the power level of the card you discovered. That is like very important, very very important.
yeah, very very true. So I think for Omu overall, we like the hero. I think the hero is really strong. It benefits leveling, benefits getting tier 6 compositions, and it's one of those heroes where you have to think about your game plan before you start playing the game, right? Think about what's available, what compositions do really well. Can you go dragons? Okay, let me pick up units beforehand that can synergize with this, and if you can do that correctly, you can level very well. It also has a very flexible leveling curve. You don't have to always level on turn 2. You can take it a little bit slower and use that advantage to stabilize the game. So very strong hero, very flexible hero, very powerful. And I think since it's right now, it's doing the best in the meta, previous meta. I wanted to talk about it. But the next topic we shall be talking about is the best 5-drop units. We're continuing this series that we had. We've talked about 1s, 2s, 3s, 4s. There's been a whole meta shift these days, but I wanted to talk about some of the 5-drop units. I want to put initially that there's too many good 5-drop units. I was looking and I was like, oh, this would fit, this would fit, this would fit, this would fit, this would fit. Every single, like, not every single, but there were so many 5-drops that I could put in here that didn't fit, and I would love to have them all, but I still think we'll be talking about a lot of them. But there are 5-drop units are really where you start to get a lot of direction, a lot of these stabilizing unique cards that really can give a comp that spice, that jump, that you get this, you know what you're gonna do for the rest of the game, right? So Light Fang's one of them, right? You hit Light Fang early, you're like, okay, I'll go Menage. You hit Brand early, you know, you're like, all right, let me hero power the second Brand, get the triple, switch some Murlocs, win the game, you know, do that kind of thing, right? So there's Baron, right? Baron Goldrin's very common. Same thing with Mama Bear, Beast, Death Rattles, and then you put Goldrin in, switch to Macaw comp. Faceless, very, very unique in the fact that it's one of the few cards that can give you a lot of options every turn. If you see that, you can easily get triples and things like that. Murazan, right? You've seen those super silly compositions where someone gets Brand Murazan and then they just like get Golden Caligos out of nowhere in one turn, and then they're beating you with your own comp, you know. So there are a lot of 5-drop units. The Puma Agamadan as well, right? The Quilboar Beast also does a lot of damage, right? Synergize with Chalga, and there's a lot of good 5-drop units that are in the game that really can determine how you want to play the rest of the game out, or can give you direction or change your direction if you get them quickly.
You want to talk about your favorite 5s first, Vic?
I'll let you go first this time.
All right, no worries. So yeah, I guess I'm more known as like the tempo guy, right? So I'll give maybe some takes that aren't so popular, and then of course I'll talk a little bit about Hogger afterwards. Hogger is the best 5-drop in the game, hands down. Right? I think Void Lord is probably one that goes under the radar, where people get a Void Lord, it's like, oh, I missed it so bad, right?
Harbinger.
Yeah, right. Harbinger, if you get Void
It's
Lord,
dirty in the middle game.
oh, you kill people, right? People just die, right?
You get 20.
Yeah, you just chunk them like crazy. So if you whiffed, you know, obviously the sexy 5-drops are like, oh, I want my Light Fang, I want the Dirty Brand, or give me like even a Nomi to start scaling, right? So people love those cards, but
Why is Nomi not in here, Collins?
It was between Murazan and Nomi.
Did you just put Murazan instead of Nomi? Oh my god.
Yes.
So yeah, there's a lot of like early stuff you can do with Void Lord. So if you don't hit the crazy good cards, or let's say you're just dying, right? Sometimes even like something as stupid as the 7/7 dinosaur Ironhorn, sometimes when you get that early, right? There have been moments where I picked this over a Brand because I'm like, a 2/4 right now is gonna kill me, right? That doesn't happen too often. Don't start snap picking Diron over Brand. But that card can do some work if you like. Let's say you're a Eudora, and I think it's a lot of the time on Eudora, right? You dig, you have low HP, you're like, all right, Golden Minion, save me, and it's a fucking tight collar or whatever. You're like, oh, I'm so dead, right? Don't take the Brand, take the Direhorn in that situation, because you're just going to just die the next turn if you don't. And Direhorn early has a really good chance of overkilling, so not a great card, but just these tempo cards, give them some thought if you're in a spot where you really need to pick me up. And then of course, like Battle Master is probably the king of save me, please, right? I'm dying. There's so many moments where I play against someone that tripled into a 5, and I'm just saying, all right, just please not a Battle Master, right? Like, I don't want to take 9 minimum damage because this guy on tier 4 tripled into a Battle Master, and there is 0 chance I kill a Battle Master with my board. And the amount of times that it's actually a Battle Master, you end up taking 9 damage, even though you're kind of stronger, but there's just one unkillable minion on their board. It's quite frustrating. So another good pick if you are low on HP, you just tripled into a 5. Shoot for the BM, still very good. And then, of course, you guys know how I love APM Pirates, so I'm not going to bore you to death with this. But Hogger, faces on a Hogger, Golden Hogger, pew, 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 right? You just take off. Extremely fun. Go back to the previous episode if you want to hear more about APM Pirates. It's somewhere in there, guys.
I know I haven't talked to you in a while, Shady, but how is your wrist recovered so well? Now your favorite composition is APM pirate. That really surprises me.
Oh, man. Yeah, it's crazy,
Wait,
right?
really, you can handle APM pirates now? Is
Like,
that
I'm not
that?
gonna bore you to death with it, but it says like, let's say it's like a 95% recovery, so it's really
Oh,
good.
I'm very
You don't
happy
have
for
to
you.
worry
That's
about
so
it.
cool.
So what about
Okay,
you, Vic?
personally, like in my opinion, there's only 3 tier 5 mini. There's not that many tier 5 mini. I only think Brand Lifeng and Mithrax are tier 5 mini. I don't know how you come up with this many tier 5 mini. Okay, so Lifeng is the best tier 5 minion for most heroes. We're talking about most heroes because for most of the tier 5 hero, you get the tier 5, right? Tier 5 minion. You triple into this tier 5 minion, you cannot level, right? You triple in your brand, you go Murloc, the first step is to look for a permanent lookout and Murloc buffer. You can't just level to 5. Most of the time you will die. And also same
I
for
do
Mama
it.
Bear. You gotta get one Mama Bear. Most of the time you gotta get some bees to stabilize first. Life Fang is the first choice for me because you get a Life Fang, you level to 5. That's not even called power level. You already got a Life Fang. That's a very stable level. And then you'll find more Life Fang. You'll find Mitrax. They just build break on break is very, very safe. Brand this patch, like including last patch before the boards are nerfed, it's got like last patch is even weaker, right? Because the board have no extra brand value except a couple blood gem generator, and just getting a few blood gem for having a 2/4 on the board is not worth it. So no one picked brand last patch. This patch, I think, I mean Janus can pick it, but other hero I don't think can
Collins
pick it.
will pick a brand no matter what meta, so yeah. It's just like, take brand, dude.
But I think brand this meta is actually really good. I haven't played a lot of games this patch yet, but the games I have brand in, they're all like top 3 games. Murloc is viable, very viable again. Like if you have brand, and that's the prerequisite, right? I had that game earlier today. I triple into a golden brand, then like I'm suddenly Murloc with one Promofen, and no one actually have the power level to beat my transition Murloc. Brand Menadri with Lifeng, very good. I think there's 3 tier 5 minions on tier 5. There's not this many. Brand Lifeng and what's that card?
Mithrax.
Mithrax, yeah. Faceless is for copy Brand Lifeng and Mithrax. And
Murloc is the skill
Mama Bear is
emulator.
only there for when you're. Oh my god, I miss everything. Okay, I'll take Mama Bear. I will try to get a top 6. I already leveled to tier 5. I can't even go taunt come. Oh, I'm so screwed. I guess I will take Mama Bear. And if you hit 2 Mama Bears, sure you can top 4. But usually just top 6, right? You without 2 people, you win 1 fight with your beast.
There's no love for Baron at all. No.
Baron, I mean, it's for very specific comps like Pirate and Beast. If you already triple into a 6 drop and then you get Baron, it's usually good. The comp that build up into Baron, I think it's only Death Rather like
Right.
that Leash King or something like that can
Yeah.
run. It works, but it's hard to win. Like if you triple spawn into a Baron, like that works, but you either need to power level to transition out or transition into a Baron comp, or you die in 3 turns. That's usually what happens. Like whenever I check my opponent Warband, if they have a Baron 3 turn earlier, that person he's facing me again, he's usually dead. I think Faceless and Morozon is an interesting pick. They're very good utility cards and has huge hero potential. I mean, those cards you just most of the time you always buy them, but you don't take them as a core. They're supplement for your core, right?
But
So I really like to like mention a couple Temple 5 drop.
okay.
The new one, the 4/8 Divine Shield. A lot of the time when you're dying, you triple to tier 5 usually when you're dying or you feel behind. Otherwise, you triple for tier 6. If you have plenty of HP, when you have aggressive hero, usually triple tier 6, right? But a lot of time, if I have to triple for a 5, getting that 4/8 Divine Shield is pretty good. That thing worked with Ground Shaker really well. Get a couple, bludgeon bludgeon generators, and yeah, that thing can help you survive a couple turns, just like Mama Bear. The Void Lord with a Harbinger does another survival 5-drop. I think those are usable. Sometime Morganis with Void Lord, sometime Brand Battle Master. 5-drop usually come in combos, not like 6-drop. Those are pretty strong by themselves already. Against Coiler or Bolt, they can just carry you by themselves. Tripling to 5-drop, actually take extra, you have to take extra caution. Because 5-drop, you can't expect a 5-drop to save you by itself. You need one turn to develop with that 5-drop, so you will be strong enough. So when you triple for 5-drop, you always have to have that at the back of your mind. Okay, if I triple into this, will I level or not level? Right? Usually Life Fang you level, usually Brand no level, usually Mama Bear no level. You can't triple into a Mama Bear or Brand and level just hope a miracle will save you. It will not. You get those cards, you stay on 4. Just don't think you triple you're strong. You're not strong. You stay on 4 with those cards. I think that's one thing that people often miss. It's like, oh, I have a Mama Bear. I'm going to tier 5. No, don't do that. They usually die. You can't have enough economy to fill up your board with beast after that. Yeah, I'm surprised you didn't put Mythrice in here instead.
I don't
Mythrice
play
is very
Mythrax
strong.
as much as you do.
Yeah, he's very strong.
I definitely think it's a lot of the 5-drops you seem to be favoring are 5-drops that allow you to level up to 5 once you get them. Those are the ones that you seem to really like, right? Where I'm looking at like the whole shebang, where Baron, right? Sometimes it doesn't do that well if you get it early, right? But sometimes that could be the one card you need to really make your composition pop, right? If you're playing Scam, if you're playing Beast, right? Sometimes the only thing you're looking for, the whole shop, everything is just one Baron, right? To make sure that you have all the power. And I liked Faceless, I like Mirror just because there are some of the key pieces to create super high roll compositions, right? If those 2 cards weren't in the game, right, you'll see a lot less high rolling because people aren't able to steal your comps or people aren't able to get easy triples and stuff like that. Put it in. Mama Bear, I wanted to put in just because I think it's one of those cards that is a 5-drop that it doesn't feel that strong, but sometimes it's the only thing you can do to save yourself, right? Sometimes I level to 5 and I don't hit anything, right? And I'm just like, I have no direction. I see a Mama Bear, I see a Faceless the Mama, buy the second Mama, buy a Rat Pack, and then I'm okay, right? So a lot of times when I'm leveling to 5, I don't have any direction. Mama Bear happens to be what makes me get to top 4, just because it's an easy 1, 2, 3 pickup, and then I have something that can keep me alive for a turn or 2. So that's why I put all of these cards in there. I think there's a lot more. I was having a lot of difficulty putting a lot of these cards in. Light Fang, Brand, Baron for me was pretty easy. Tavern Girl was pretty easy. The last 2, I was like, there's so many. I literally, I only had 5 initially. I literally smush them together so I can add an extra card because I was like, there's not enough space, so let me just smush them together so I can put this mirrors on it. So I definitely think there's a lot of good 5s, Temple 5s I didn't put in here, but they're also very relevant whenever you get them. So do you think that was
like if you talk about details, like every different 5 have different values for different heroes, right? Because the hero have their preferred composition, and usually that preferred composition will decide which one is the best card.
Yeah, that's very true. So I mean, 5s are very contested. There's a lot of things to discuss when you go to 5s, right? Though I remember the 1-drop conversation was actually pretty contested as well, right? Because we did talk about tempo 1-drops and things like that when you're playing heroes that stay on 1 and whatnot. So all these taverns really.
I have a secret to share. Actually, talking about 5-drop.
Okay.
I have a secret to share. This secret is one sentence. I've never said it on my stream before.
Ooh, we're getting that good content.
You either level to 5 super early, or you never level to 5. Or no, it's called you either level to 5 super early, or you level to tier 5 super late.
Uh, that's
You either
that's
level to 5 super early to rush this when other people cannot kill you, so you will have one turn to develop with these 5s, or you only level to 5 when you triple for 6. You never level to 5 when you're like 10 coins, like turn 8. That's like if you just don't do that, you're not gonna top 8 a lot. People's
that's
most
fair.
frequent mistake is like they have 20 HP, don't know what to do on tier 4. Let's level to 5. That's never gonna save you. The only way you save yourself is to get your pair on tier 4. Your pair on tier 4 is super easy to triple, and then you directly go to tier 6. Because tier 5 minion by itself, it takes time to skill. It cannot save you by themselves. But if you have something set up for, a field specific 5 drop, that's a different scenario. Like, for example, you have a Harbinger, right? You're running Soul Juggler Demon, then you triple for tier 5. But for the common scenarios, you're not going to just level to tier 5 to look for something that saves you. It won't.
Yeah, that's
I don't
very
know if you
true.
guys agree with that.
Well, yes, me for sure. Collins is like, yeah, I mean, Colin's a great player. So a lot of the time when we talk about this, Colin's like, "Ah, you could do this." I was like, you can do it, Collins, because you're a really good player. And honestly, when he was talking about the mama bear, I'm like, I never have to do that because I don't go to 5 and then look for something to save me. I go to 5 when I have a triple, right? I've got my own rules, right? So I've got rules for myself so I don't accidentally be like, shit, why did I top 8? Oh, I leveled to 5, right? That happens so often when I was learning and getting better at the game. So it's a massive,
Tier
uh,
5 window shopping. The
yeah,
classic.
right. It just it really resonates with me where you say that, like, oh, just do not go to 5 unless, you're Omo and you're just popping off and you get a really early go to 5. Sure, what? Um, So basically go very early or do it when you have the triple ready and you want the 6 drop straight away. Uh, yeah,
Uh,
I agree with that wholeheartedly. I think it's a big MMR saver.
I think it's like the biggest secret I got, because I was really confused for a long time. I always asked myself, when do I level to tier 5? I don't know. And I asked around, talked to a lot of people. It's either you level very, very early or you level very late, well, after you hit a triple, right?
So I've had a lot of games where I don't know what to do, and I'm just like, well, I'm a tier 4. Let me just level to tier 5, and 2 turns later, I'm dead.
Yeah,
So
sometimes it comes from the psychology that you're scared you don't roll into a
right,
lot of the things on tier
right.
4. But tier 4 minions actually have higher tempo than tier 5. There's actually a lot of solid tier 4s. If next time, you guys want to go for the tier 4 minions that can achieve that, I think it'll be a good topic for maybe in the future.
Yeah,
How do you survive on tier 4 and how do you like achieve
we've
future
talked
game
about
time on tier
this.
4?
We've
Oh,
talked.
I should go watch that.
I, I think something that helps a lot whenever you are shopping on tier 4, at least something I've found, is to not settle too early, right? There are so many just nutty tier 4 drops where you go like, just module, right? Like module is just wow, right? Like synergy with arm, divine shield is great in general, synergy with stuff like a jug later on. If you get a deflecto, you get module on a reset. You're guaranteed that your deflecto is not going to get sniped and it's going to get early reset. Harbinger, we talked about that. So I think a mistake I made sometimes where I was a little too eager to, because sometimes you have these shops where you're like, oh, I could spend my gold okay here, but then you like spend your gold buying garbage and you're being efficient with your gold. You're basically being efficient at buying garbage, which is just not good, right? Because it would have been better if you had just bought one less unit, rolled 2 more times, and be like, oh, here, this guy, right now I get this Harbinger, or I get this Champion of Yashraj, or get this module, or even an Argus, right? Like all the taunt comp stuff, or an arm, like. So that's probably something I found where that really increased that tier 4 power as well, to just not settle too early on things that are okay but not great.
Yeah, the habit of counting your gold expenditure before the turn start is like the super good habit for whatever you just said, right? For example, I have 9 gold this turn. How many roll do I have? How many minion I want to buy, right? Can I include a buffer buy and sell for 2 gold? Like when you map that out in your head, then it becomes much more clear the minion that you're actually gonna purchase, which one it is. Like if you're just like not knowing what to do and start rolling, then oftentimes the turn is gonna be like shit. And I do that a lot when I'm feeling tired and play, just autopilot. The turn are usually shit when I don't count my gold. Counting gold is just super important. Especially like the turn 8 to turn 10. Those field turns are super important.
Very true. Um, but yeah, I overall would think that's really good advice. The only level to 5 early or late is what I end up doing a lot of the times when I'm doing really well. But you know, sometimes I always just level to 5 regardless, and then I see, right, can I higher roll, right? And you know, sometimes I do, but a lot of times the game becomes a lot more difficult. And there's definitely been a lot of games where I look at my plans to like, the reason I lost is because I leveled extra, you know. Sometimes I'm at 5 and I'm like, I leveled to 6, and then I'm like, that was the that was the reason I died, you know. And it's just like, yeah, because it's very easy to level, right? You don't have to think about the rolls, you don't have to think about the turn, right? So anytime you're feeling tired, anytime you're feeling lazy, you're just like, I'll just level and then I'll just see if I get the nuts, and then I'll just go win there, right? It's a lot more skill, it's a lot more thinking and decision making if you're staying on 4 that extra turn, trying to stabilize your board, trying to find a composition that turn that can keep you alive and keep you strong. So you know, anytime I'm feeling tired, feeling lazy, right, I just go level and then see if I can just salvage from there. So that's why I have like Mama Bear there, because it's one of the common salvations for me, right? Where if you're doing a normal staying on 4, you never have that situation pop up for you. So it is true that, you know, different play styles can value different minions and different priorities on which is strong, which is good, right? You only have those 3, right? Where I have too many because I'm on 5 all the time, so I have to use all the cards. Where you're like, I just take Light Fang, Mithrax. Those are the only ones I need, right? Because you don't stay on 5 too long unless you're getting a 6 or doing something like that. So I do think that was a really interesting discussion. Went more in depth than I thought Ed would go, but I think it was very, very interesting, very, very informative, very, very fun. Next topic we shall be talking about is, what is your favorite minion from the Quilboar patch? You know, I have a couple of ideas that I tossed in there. You know, maybe I hit one of them, maybe I didn't.
This is not the question, Colin. It says episode 10 with which one is SunBacon you like. You already got my answer. Okay.
So I'm gonna assume that is your favorite menu from this patch right here. I thought it would be a good question to ask since you were here and you did change your name to one of these cards. So you know, what do you like so much about it? You know, I know you've talked about it a little bit.
I do not look at what the card do when they come out. When I look at the patch notes, I see the card art. I just like I see myself sitting there. I see myself sitting there. I don't know the body shape, the head shape. You know, the way it drinks and look at things are just the same. I feel like that card is made for me. I don't know. So I just decided I'm gonna change my name to that because I feel like it represented me.
That's very cool, right? You saw it and you saw yourself basically.
Yeah, I see my soul in this card. I feel the card, powered of the card.
I was so surprised where I just wake up one day, you're like, hey, my name's SunBaconRelaxer. I'm like, and then you change your Twitch. I was like, oh.
But I was really upset when people like constantly ask me. There's like at least 1,000 people now post the same question in my chat. What did you do to Tumblr? Who are you? Why are you changing the name? And then spam that. Oh my god. I have to ban so many people because I get frustrated.
Yeah, fair enough. But I think it's a good name. I do. This name is amazing. I got, like, it is a fantastic name, SunBaconRelaxer. It's just.
It gives you the vibe, right?
Yeah.
It's just relaxer. I didn't know is relaxer really a word?
Yeah.
It's not, right? They
Yeah.
made it up. It is a word?
Yeah.
There's someone called a relaxer.
A person that's relaxing.
I guess you could do that with any word. Like ground shaker, the guy who's shaking the
Yeah, he's
ground.
a shaker. Yeah.
Bunker, the guy who is bunking.
Yeah.
What is your guys' favorite card?
Yeah. Shady, I want to
You go
know:
first.
is it up here? Is it in here? That's
Well, yeah.
that's.
So mine synergizes really well with Victor, right?
It's. I knew it.
Oh my god, Shady is a tryhard. Oh no.
I think that Flat Tusk is the one that I like to play the most out of the new piggies, where she just enables some really fun turns where you just pop off. You like buy money, sell money, buy Marizont with a brand, gem, puff, 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 puff. So she gets the most fun turns. But if you just go off, what do I buy the most? What is the most in my comp if I'm playing piggies? Then yeah, it's Ground Shaker for sure.
That's right. I know them.
Collins knows me. Collins knows me. Right?
When
It's like,
Brawl Shaker came out, no one think like a lot of people think it's an extremely weak card. Maybe the
yeah,
weakest out
what's
of the
that about?
Qilboar set. And then it's just the opposite. It's the
I
most reliable, no, most practical one.
it's so
And
insane,
it's
right?
super strong.
Like I played one game with it. I'm like, yeah, shit's broken. It's just like,
But it depends on the meta, really. When the Qilboars were the most strongest, Ground Shaker also is the strongest because all the damage can cash in on raw stats. But now as the meta shifted, there's more Taunt Comp, more Soul Juggler, more Divine Shield. Then the power level of this card actually go down. It's very matchup dependent now. It's still very strong.
very
Like
interesting to
it
point out.
can save you from fights that you can absolutely have no chance winning. But you can't say, oh, I always do this, and no matter what's the matchup, I always win. There's some matchup you can't win with this.
I think right now, as we're going into that setup where, there will be more taunt comp and it will just be less big, beefy, unprotected bodies, because that's basically what piggies were,
Yeah.
right? It's like, oh, I just have a 40/40, but like nothing else. No cleave, no divine shield. And it's like, well, this 25 damage divine shield guy is gonna trade okay with those things. So it's mainly going to be like, oh, I just have a really good board for Shaker, right? Like I have very easy gem generation. I have a bunch of shields, maybe duos or something to take advantage of the fact that you're pumping a board the whole time. But it should be less of a, oh, see Shaker, buy Shaker, but more, oh, wow, oh, this board is actually really good. Okay, cool. I can maybe implement it.
And the way this card synergize with your Divine Shield and Cleave is also come with a 3/3, right? After you buff all your like minion for that turn only, and you have some residual gems on this, and then you take it out and actually put that stat on the Hydra. It come in really handy in the late game when you're running out of steam, I feel.
Yeah, that's true as well.
It's a
This
huge.
card ran out of steam pretty hard late game, but having that extra option helps a lot.
Yeah, I think Alec here benefits a lot from that, what you just said. Like
Yeah.
swapping it into the Hydra and like, oh, position one. Right. All right. Anyways, Collins, what's yours, man?
Okay, so I like not having to do anything. And one of these heroes just you pick it and you just stop playing the game and you start taking the wins, Charles, it's a little unfair. I'm taking the tier 6 unit, but it it is essentially what I like to do. I get 2 Charles and a Puma, and then I'm just getting plus 25, plus 26, plus 26 a turn. I don't have to do anything, put some Divine Shields on the board and go, take a nap, come back with a first place victory. That's what I like to do. I wanted to give another shout out to Bonkers as well. With the nerf, it's my love for it has gone down a little bit, but Golden Bonkers before you get 8 gems a turn, it's pretty nutty. It's sometimes even better than that. I remember there were some games where I have like 2 cards in my hand, and I'm just like, oh wait, I have to play these because Bonkers might fill my board with gems. It's just like that's nuts. And I really love doing that. Just stacking the boy and just getting all the gems. You feel real powerful when that happens. So I wanted to give you know, a little love. I know I said favorite minion, but I can make the rules and I can have two. So,
Let me ask one question, Collins. If
uh,
you have a deflectable on the board and bunkers making the gym, who are you gonna give the gym to at the beginning, assuming you don't have Necrolite?
Bonker probably. I mean,
Yeah,
I
then that's true love. I like that. He gets what he deserves, right? He makes the food, he gets to eat.
yeah,
I like that.
I
I
don't
probably do
want
the
my
same.
bunkers dying early, so I just stack it. You can have
Yeah, I
like
usually just jam in a
Dude,
bunker and super late game I transfer the stats.
that's very fair.
Hmm.
So I like that.
I
But
was
yeah,
shouting in my screen like, "Put him on the deflecto. You don't have to keep putting him on the board."
let's
Right?
go and give me the chances.
Shady put it on deflectable. Oh my god.
And you're like,
How
"Put
can
him
you
on the
treat bunkers
deflecto."
like that? Oh
Like, yo,
no.
the bunker needs to live.
Yes, that's me for sure. So I thought this would be an interesting question. I got the answers right. You know, I didn't ask them. I mean, one was cheating. I saw the answer when I read his names, but the other one was a
You
little.
probably go for the ground shaker first.
Uh,
And then if nothing happens, oh, I have to put on deflectable. That sucks. I wish I have a ground shaker. That's shady's logic. Us, we just give it to the bunker right away, and then we start
It
rolling.
was it was so bad that when I was spamming, I was playing Mukla and I just slammed the banana on the ground shaker. I was like, "Oh shit, no, that doesn't work."
uh,
It was just the muscle memory was so strong from just like gem on the ground shaker.
alright.
Yeah, using the bludgeon on the ground shaker is the art. You have to evaluate
How
the
strong you
strength
have
of
to
your
be? Yeah,
opponent.
exactly.
Yeah, can't waste them.
Yeah, that's for sure. Especially now with the changes, the adjustments. Now you have to be a little bit careful because the
Yeah, they're
gem
very
durations.
valuable.
Yeah, that's very true. Last topic we've got here. I think since we have a bunch of grinders in this stream right now, I just wanted to ask some tips for grinding rank. You know, how do you feel when you're playing a ton of games, right? It's not always going to be like a straight up trajectory, right? There's going to be a little bit of ups, a little bit of downs, that kind of thing. You know, how do you get through these things? For me, myself, if I started, you know, I don't necessarily look at my rating when I play too much. You know, I always find like it can get into your head, and I was having issues where my mood was like directly correlated to how much MMR I gained that day, and I was just like, is this healthy? You know, no, not for me. So I tried to lessen it and just making sure that I'm playing okay, right? Sometimes when I play a lot, I get tired. I remember specifically when I was like trying to go for rank one and things like that. I played like 3 or 4 hours, and then I would switch to a different account, or or I'd play 3 or 4 hours, and I was like done uh, playing for that day, right? Because I wanted to play when I was in the right headspace, when I was able to think correctly and things like that. So um, those little things, if I'm just trying to grind, if I'm just grinding like 5, 6, 7, 8 hours a session, right? Then I go for I like comms that don't like that I don't have to
5, 6
think.
hours, it's not grinding.
Yeah,
Five,
just
six, it's not.
yeah,
So,
I'm talking to our audience here, where
oh, I
they're
see.
not all
Okay.
streamers, that play all day. I'm trying to resonate with them. Maybe they have 2 hours here or there, 3 hours here or there. Just making sure that you have the right headspace. You have a game plan. You don't get too tilted by looking at your MMR. Right? You see some people, they lose one game and then they do badly for the next like hour and a half afterwards because they're still thinking about the game beforehand, right? Sometimes you have a bad game, you have to move past it, right? You're like, oh, this was bad, okay, let me get through it, right? Where you find comps that you like, right? Some people want to learn every comp, every meta, every strategy, every archetype, right? But if there's a hero that you particularly do well with, but isn't like the best hero in the game, right? You pick that hero over the best hero because you synergize with it well, right? You play well, you have your own strategy with this hero, right? So you got to focus on those things that work for you specifically and refine those skill sets, right? You are the difference maker in that hero where other people aren't looking at it the same way you are. So there's a lot of little different things you can do just to make the grind smoother and make sure you don't get tilted and have fun while playing the game.
You want to go first, Vic?
Mm. Can you go first?
Yeah, no problem, man, no
This
problem.
is a very complicated one because I have so much personal feeling about this. Maybe you guys know me. Like, if you know me, you know, right?
Yeah.
Because I cared about this a lot.
Sure. I think I've got a few approaches to it, right? So when you look at climbing, a lot of it is just getting better at the game and then having sufficient sample size. And
Yeah.
if you are getting better at the game, you will climb. So that is a game on its own, right? Where it's about your mental. If you can keep your mental state in a good, stable position, the sheer just keeping playing and learning and getting better, the number will go up, even though the number goes down sometimes, right? But you can make it a self-fulfilling prophecy where the number goes down, you let it get to you, suddenly the number goes down even more because you're making decisions that you would normally not make because you're tilted. So one trick or mindset I guess I use is I try to rig it in my favor. If I'm winning, I'm not gonna be like, all right, be neutral. Don't feel good about this. It's just a number, right? No, feel good. It's great. Hey, you're winning. It's great. Have a good time. But when I'm losing, I just try to rig it in my favor. Is that okay? You're learning, right? It's not losing, it's learning, and there's nothing wrong with that. You want to rig it in your favor so that you wake up, you want to play, or you come home from work, you want to play, and it's not like, oh, I'm scared because I'm gonna feel good if I do well. But what if I do badly? I'm gonna feel bad, right? And if you just rig it in your favor, it's like you're not gonna be scared to play. You're not gonna be scared of the result because you're winning or you're learning. Is good either way. So some days you're learning a little bit too much, right? And you have to stop a bit earlier. But I think that helps me a lot, right? That and have more than one account. I think once you hit like a 10K or 8K or just whatever personal milestone you have for yourself, you're like, I've got it, right? And then you can be afraid to lose it. So if you are playing a lot, if you are a grinder, I think 2 accounts help where you have that locked away. No one's taking that away from you. You can play on the other account, right? The other account drops 1K, it doesn't matter. It was a good learning day, right? But you're still 10K. The other account is still 10K, right? The account you're grinding on dropped from 9 to 8. That's fine. Doesn't matter. You're still a 10K player. That 10K account is still secured. So that's probably my 2 biggest tips is rig the mental game in your favor where you're winning or you're learning. And if you have the time, I realize not everyone does. If you have the time, grinding on 2 accounts really helps you have that stable mental where you cannot lose that peak, right? The peak is secured. You cannot lose it. Play on the other account. That'd be my 2 biggest tips.
Yeah, I agree with JD. I think having at least 2 accounts is helpful for the mental stability. I'm not the one that is most suited to give tips because I personally really hate losing. If I lose,
Same.
like there are people who really enjoy winning, and there are also people who really hate losing, right? Those are the 2 type of competitors. I'm the type of guy, even though I want to be the one that enjoy winning, but by nature, I'm the guy who really hate losing. So every time I lose a lot of rank, even though I try my best to convince myself. It could be sample size, RNG, it could be my physical conditions not the best that day. I try to forgive myself, but it will not happen for me. It's just like I try different method, it won't work for me. So I usually just suffer it. The way to minimize the suffer is for sure to have 2 or 3 account. That way, when you lose on the one, you go to the other one, and then you kind of have a mixed feeling. Then it it subside. The bad feeling go away a little bit. So you always gotta try to be logical, even though like you gotta be at least aware of your inner feeling and try to talk to that feeling, right? Okay, maybe I lose 500 MMR one day, even though I feel bad about it inside, I cannot change that feeling. But metacognitively, I can say, "Oh, okay, Victor, you lost today. I will try to make you feel better." Like my left brain trying to make my right brain feel better, right? This half of the brain is out of control, but there's half that is in control. So I don't know. It might sound like split personality, but that's actually what is going on in my head the whole time when I lose. If I win, I try to ride a wave. I try to not stop when I'm getting a first place because no matter if I'm doing well for that day physically, mentally, or if I'm just lucky, for either of the reason, keep playing is never bad. Of course, it's not suggestible for like students or people who are working. You don't want to be too addicted. But for me, it works. If you're winning, keep going. When you're losing, if you can stop, if you're not a streamer like me, go ahead and take a break. I think it's probably the best approach. Do not go to a downward spiral because there are like two kind of mentality when you can fall into if you're losing that will affect your game. One, I'll be more conservative. I lost, therefore I'm playing too risky, right? So that's where people start buying Menagerie Jog on tier 6. That's like a behavior that is because you lost, you're trying to be more protective. And the more protective you are, the less you're gonna win. And there's another type of person who just like going YOLO after they lose. They take way too much risk unnecessarily. They want to prove to themselves that they can do it. The game doesn't matter. They don't care about you want to prove yourself. You make the minus EV play, your MMR go down. So you can't really avoid those two feelings as a normal person. I think that you're a monk, maybe you can, but as a normal gamer like us, probably you can't. So stepping away for an hour or two, or watch other play, watch streams to gain a new perspective, and trying to forget about what happened is usually what I can do off stream. But on stream, I just suffer. I mean, I think every streamer suffer to some extent because they can't stop. It's their obligation to keep playing. So that's my take on it. But for overall improvement wise, you want to be prepared before you climb. You gotta be aware of your skill. You can't be like, oh, I never practiced any of this hero, but I'm a 14k player before. I will be a 14k player this season after a patch. That's not gonna happen. You gotta relearn everything. You gotta keep an open mind, right? You gotta know everything have changed every time after a patch, and you gotta take, a week or two, get 10 games in for all the tier 1 heroes at least to have a basic understanding of the meta, and then you can have this mindset, okay, I think I will climb because I have enough practice. You can't have like confidence that come from no base, right? No actual knowledge of the game. So having a correct estimate of yourself and have a objective, estimate of yourself is important, I think. This way, you don't feel worse, feel miserable for no reason.
Yeah, that's very true.
That's all.
Good, good stuff.
Yeah, it can sometimes be tough. I actually have the same mentality as you. I also hate losing. Sometimes it's not too obvious when you're watching me or you see me play, but I definitely struggle sometimes where I'll be playing a game and I'm thinking about a game like 3 games ago. I'm still thinking about this one game 3 games ago. And I'm just like, I messed up here and I messed up there and I messed up there, and it's going through my head and things like that. It can be tough if you're and especially this is like for streamers, right, where chat doesn't necessarily help with this. If you're streaming, right, they're always asking for MMRs. They're always feeling sad for you when you've played badly that game or whatever. You made the wrong play, right? And they're like, oh, you got so unlucky when oh no, I just made the wrong mistake here, right? And they're just feeling sympathy even though it's not necessary and things like that. So it can be a struggle to just like get over that or not tilt yourself and things like that. But one thing is to understand, they are trying to help you the way they can, and it's not that they're trying to tell you.
Oh, not
Some
everyone.
people
There
are.
are people who just want to tell
Yeah,
you.
some
Not everyone.
people are, you ban those people, you get them to understand your side of things. But generally, people are trying to help you, and even though not every day is going to be a upward perfect climb, right? You'll have down days, you'll have up days, but you're learning, you're getting better, you're practicing for whatever you're trying to do. So it is just a mentality to have, a mentality to take to kind of keep yourself going and keep yourself enjoying the game, having fun, making sure that you are playing the game because it is a game and you want to, enjoy the things that you do. So I think I thought it would be nice just to have ourselves talk about these things just there, but that will be our podcast. I think it's been a pretty fun one, a pretty good and interesting one. A lot of interesting things to go and review afterwards. If you haven't seen the tournament, I think it was a pretty fun. I mean, it's always fun if you win, both of us we won in some sense.
But go watch that game. Collins one shot the crit from like 30 HP with his double Nomi, double huge Wind Fury with 1990s elementals. That was really enjoyable, guys. Go watch the VOD. One shot it. Like crit was like, oh, okay, yeah, okay.
But yeah, a lot of good fun there over in that tournament. But I do want to thank both of you guys for being here. Thank you, Shady, for always being consistent co-host, and thank you, SunBacon, for joining us here right after the tournament. Really fun having you here. Really enjoyed. I talked to you about a lot of these things.
Yeah,
And any last things you want to talk to the chat about?
Not much. Maybe you guys can have me back again at some point.
For
talk
sure.
more.
It was a lot of fun. Honestly, like we've been going for what, like 2 hours or something, and there's still
Yeah.
a lot of stuff. Oh, I can't want to talk about that. Oh, I can't want to talk about that. So it's really good, and we can definitely have a sequel. Thanks for coming on, man. It's a good fun.
Thank you guys both.
Yeah. And
Glad to be here.
viewers, thank you guys for listening in. We appreciate your feedback, we appreciate your comments and suggestions. We've got our email at HSBGPodcast. If you want to send in messages, things like that, we'll read it out. And you can definitely reach everyone. You can reach me at Educatedcollins, at Twitch and Twitter and all that fancy stuff, YouTube as well. What about you, Shady?
Same as always, man. Just Shady Bunny on Twitch. Happy to be here. Happy for you guys to be listening. And see you next week.
Victor, over here.
All right, see you, shit. SunBaconRelaxer, twitch.tv/SunBaconRelaxer. New name, used to be 12 inch HS. Okay, yeah.
Yes, but
Find me in the Hearthstone category, just like those two as well.
Yes. Well, that'll be it for us today. Great episode, and we'll see you guys next week. Possibly a better understanding of how this recent patch has affected the meta, and we'll see if we got any more surprises, any more guests in store for you guys. But take care of yourselves. Have a good rest of your day, and see you guys later. Peace out.